Hi, in this lesson, you'll get to meet Tracy. This is Tracy. Tracy is a turtle that will follow our commands if we tell them to her in the language she understands. For example, you might have a pet dog that understands what to do when you say sit, but if instead you said, put your butt on the floor, they probably won't know what you mean because you didn't use the word they know. Tracy is the same way. Tracy doesn't understand traditional English, so if we asked her, Tracy, move forward, she would have no idea what we wanted her to do. In order to communicate with Tracy, we need to learn her language. Before we learn how to communicate with Tracy, let's learn a bit about the world Tracy lives in. Tracy actually lives in a box we sometimes call the canvas because we can tell Tracy to draw pictures in her world the same way you may draw pictures on paper or paint them on a canvas. To learn more about her world, let's first revisit a concept you have probably learned in math class. We can use an X and Y axis, or a coordinate system, to talk about certain locations on a grid. If we wanted to place a point at location 3, 4, we start with the first number, which is the X location. This means that the position we want is going to be somewhere along this line. Then we look at the second number, which is the Y location. This means that the position we want is somewhere along this line. The point where these two locations intersect is the position we want. This location is located at 3 on the x-axis and 4 on the y-axis. We can also extend the x and y-axis to include negative numbers. You can see that the top right portion of our grid looks the same as before, but now we also include locations that have positive y values but negative x values, positive x values but negative y values, and x and y values that are both negative. If we wanted to place a point at location -3, 0, we start with the x location and see that it is negative. This means that the position we want is going to be somewhere along this line. Then we look at the y location, which is 0. This means that the position we want is somewhere along the main y-axis. We aren't moving up to any positive numbers or down to any negative numbers. The point where these two locations intersect is the position we want. Okay, now let's see how we can use our understanding of coordinate systems to learn more about Tracy's world. Tracy lives in a grid world. Her world is a coordinate system with positive and negative x and y values. At the center of her world is location 0, 0. The x-axis values go from -200 to +200, and the y-axis values go from -200 to +200 also. If we wanted Tracy to move to location 150, -100, we start with the x location, which is 150. This means that the position we want is going to be somewhere along this line. Then we look at the y location, which is -100. This means that the position we want is somewhere along this line. The point where these two locations intersect is the position we want. Let's do some practice with coordinate points before we move on.